Are you desiring more out of life? More love, more connection, more experience, just more aliveness? Well, that is your soul calling you, and together we are going to uncover those soul desires and help you bridge the gap between your physical life and your true soul self. Welcome to the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. My name is Emilee. I'm an intuitive, a psychic medium, and someone who recently and very suddenly awakened to spirituality. On this podcast, we are going to talk all about connecting with your soul to live your fullest, most beautiful life. We're going to talk about spirituality from the perspective of the everyday person. It's my goal that you feel seen and supported on this journey of discovering your soul and awakening to the incredible world of spirit. Let's get started. Hey, I'm Emilee, and welcome to your monthly energy report. I'm really excited that you're here. I'm really excited to provide this service for you, and I really hope that you enjoy listening. Now, how this works is I went ahead and tapped into what I felt was the energy for the upcoming month. Right now, we're working on September 2023, and I asked Spirit to provide me with messages regarding what the energy will be like for the following month to help me help you prepare for the month and to understand what sort of lessons we are meant to be learning this month. What sort of guidance can we receive for how to best live out the energy of this upcoming month. I want to put in this little caveat. I don't think that I can read the energy for the entire population of the world, but what I do believe is that if you're here tuning in, then this energy report is for you. I think that the energy I'm tapping into is the energy of the collective amount of people who will come and listen to this broadcast. So if you're here, this is for you. And I really hope that the messages resonate with you. Of course, if you have any questions, if you want to dive deeper into anything that came up, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Instagram at Suddenly Spiritual, and I would absolutely love to chat with you there. Let's dive in. So as I tapped into the energy of September, one central theme kept coming up through the varied messages that came through. And that central theme was education. It really seems like this September, education is going to be a central theme and in some ways kind of a catalyst for different aspects of energy that we're going to be dealing with for the month. So the first thing that came through when I tapped into the energy of September was this vision of a leaf falling down into the water, into this smooth, beautiful water, and this leaf falling down into the water and creating this ripple that goes out. And what it really symbolized to me was that we have this smooth surface. Things are super, super calm right now, but this leaf falls down and starts this ripple. It sort of disrupts things. It's a gentle disruption, but it's still a disruption. And it was this recognition that things are shifting a little bit. Things are changing. And that is something that came in through my reading, was this sense of change, this sense of transformation. And it was really gentle. It wasn't some sort of extreme transformation that we are going to be experiencing this month. Instead, it's like this continuation of something that has already started. It really feels like we're in the middle sort of this change, some sort of change that is happening. And it's already been started, it's already been initiated, and we're in the middle of it. And our smooth surface, our calm life, it's starting to get disrupted a little bit by this sense of change. And I don't get the sense that there will be a completion of it this month. It really feels like we're sort of in the middle of this experience. with the vision of like the leaf falling down, one thing that really represented to me, that the leaf falling, one, we are moving into fall, at least in the northern hemisphere, so that makes sense. But when the leaves are falling from the trees, it's like this shedding. The trees are shedding. They're shedding their leaves. They're shedding what they don't need anymore so that they can rest and then come back to life, like bloom again in the spring. And with that is just this sense of shedding, of releasing some things that we no longer need. And it's sort of like that release, maybe what's coming to me is identities or ways that we've identified ourselves, sort of maybe some limitations that we've been feeling. It seems like we're going to start releasing that this month. There may be something that is released this month as far as how you perceive yourself, how you identify yourself. Maybe a way that you have been living in the world is just no longer resonating with where you want to go and who you want to be in this lifetime. And so there's this shedding of that. And as you shed that part of you, it's going to disrupt the surface. There's this little disruption to how things have been. And it's not extreme. I didn't see like crashing waves or anything like that. It was so subtle. It was just this sweet little ripple effect. And with the ripples, it was what's the word? It was like emphasized to me that the ripples were these perfect circles. And they were perfect circles moving out. And it was this message that the change is like holistic. That was the word that kept coming. These changes are holistic. They incorporate our entire life. It's not one area of our life that's experiencing this change. It's more like we internally are changing. We're experiencing a shift or a change internally. And as we make that shift internally, it's like that change has already been brewing and it's just like clicked into place. It's like clicked into place this month, that shift. And as it clicks into place, I just imagine like screwing the lid on top of something. That's what that motion was supposed to be. As that change clicks into place, the effect of it is rippled out into our life around us. And it's the rippling out, it's affecting all the areas of our lives. Like as we see ourselves differently, we start acting differently in the world, and it's subtle differences, but it's growing. It's subtle, and then it's just growing and growing and moving outward. And eventually those changes that we've made internally, they're going to start bumping into other people. They're going to start noticing the ways that we've shifted. And even though it starts really subtle, like it's so subtle, that little leaf falling down is so subtle. And yet it makes this ripple that keeps going and going and going and going. And I don't see that ripple ending this month. It's like we're in the middle of this change and of seeing the transformation that has been initiated. And as I was feeling into that, it felt like this part of the transition, this part of the transformation that we're experiencing is really sparked by education. Like maybe we learned something new. There's some sort of educational element where it lights us up or makes us become aware of this new perspective. Like suddenly we see something in our lives differently. And that's what has sparked this change. But it feels like education. Like maybe we like read an article or we take a class or somebody tells us something. I don't know. But it feels like we're being educated, and whatever that education is, we internalize it and we're like, oh, and then we have click, and then things start changing, rippling out. The change starts rippling out. Another aspect of this message that came through, there was a part about creating the space for these changes to happen, because as we're evolving internally and watching our external world kind of start shifting and evolving, just these subtle shifts and the subtle evolving, there was a reminder that we need to create the space for these changes to happen. And I do get this sense that it really means physical space, like physically decluttering our lives. There's also like some emotional decluttering, some mental decluttering that will come about, but I think it's also physical. And there was this message that came through that was like physical clutter equals mental clutter. If your physical reality is cluttered, mentally you are also cluttered. You're carrying too much. And spirit is going to come through to you in the space, in the open spaces. If there's too much clutter, too much noise, too much chatter, you're not going to be able to hear the messages from spirit. You're not going to be able to feel that connection. You're not going to be open to receive opportunities and these new perspectives that are going to be coming into you. And so as a way to sort of prepare yourself and support yourself through this transition, part of that is relieving yourself of some of the clutter in your life. And I do think there's a sense of like physically getting rid of some clutter, and that being sort of like a mirror to the mental clutter that you might feel. The mental clutter, emotional clutter, and the physical clutter, they feel so connected, like they're mirrors to each other. That the phrasing came through so strongly that physical clutter equals mental clutter. And so I think as we start to relieve our lives of some of the physical clutter, it's also going to relieve us of some of the mental clutter. And Spirit's really encouraging us to do that, because I feel like this is a month where we really want to be open to those messages. And I think we're going to be brought opportunities to support that shift, that change, that little like click where things are clicking into place. So relieving ourselves of some clutter and creating that space is really important. Now, alongside that clutter, the other word that came through was openness. And so those two things are really go hand in hand. It's relieving ourselves of some of this clutter so that we can create the openness that we need, the open spaces, just the places where spirit can come into our lives because we are open to receive. We're not so bogged down by a million thoughts and worries and stresses and by, boxes and physical clutter, but we have the openness to receive opportunities and things that are coming our way. Now, alongside that openness and that sense of opportunities coming in, I really feel like the types of opportunities that we're going to be presented with are opportunities to be more present. That came through pretty strongly, that these opportunities that we are going to see are opportunities to be more present. And I get the sense that they are also opportunities that we have to choose differently than we may have chosen in the past. And the example that came through for me was if you're invited somewhere social and you would normally say no, try saying yes. There's these opportunities that are going to be coming to us to choose differently than we've chosen in the past. And Spirit's asking us to be open to that, to be open to those opportunities and be open to maybe a different way of doing things, a different way of approaching life. And it might feel really small. It might feel so subtle and kind of unimportant. You might think, okay, someone invites me out, and what's the big deal if I say no or if I say yes? And what I'm being shown with that is that they're bringing me back to that vision of the leaf. And it's like these little things, these little tiny things create the pinpoint, the center for that ripple effect to take place. And so even though it seems so small to choose differently or to choose to say yes to these opportunities to be more present, it might feel unimportant. And Spirit's saying even the small things can be really important in the big run, or in the long run, in the big picture. So don't discount those small opportunities. Even with like the example of, saying yes to a social situation where you would normally say no. Saying yes and showing up, maybe there you're going to meet someone who you develop a really important relationship with. Maybe there's an opportunity for a connection that will help you in your career. Maybe it's just like super fun and you need to have a lot of fun, and that's important. They're showing me that maybe we have been dismissive of some opportunities that have been brought to us because it seems unimportant, and their Spirit's just saying like the opportunities are constantly being brought to us to have more experience and more presence, and they're saying like you deserve to say yes. You deserve that presence. You deserve that feeling of enjoyment in the moment, and they are really asking us to be more open to that, to step through that door, to just try saying yes. So like, just try saying yes. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, it'll be okay. So that openness to new opportunities is an openness to being more present and to having those experiences that make us feel alive, that make us feel human, that remind us that we live here in the moment, this life right now, this presence. And that is what came through for the month of September. I think it's going to be a really great month. One other thing, back up a little bit. One other thing, when I first connected in, this phrase that just kind of kept coming through was like, steady forward, like keep soldiering on, like keep moving forward, was like this sort of phrase that kept coming through, or this feeling. And I think that plays into the fact that it really feels like we're in the middle of something right now. It doesn't feel like we're at the beginning. It doesn't feel like we're at the end. It feels like we're in the middle, and in Spirit's just encouraging us to continue moving forward with what we've been doing. I got the sense it felt like sort of like mundane. Maybe that's why the feelings of like these little opportunities are important. Maybe that's why that part of the message came through, because when it was like keep moving forward, it sort of felt like we're trudging forward, like we're still moving forward, we're not to the end, like sort of boring. And maybe that's why the message came through about saying yes to even little opportunities, because little opportunities are feeding into that ripple that we are creating this month. So now that's actually the end. That's the end of my message that I received from Spirit to deliver to you about what you can expect this month in September, as far as the energies that we are welcoming in, how we can work with that energy, and how to prepare to really have the most expansive month possible. I started this by saying that everything was tied together with that thread of education, and I still really feel like that's true. However, as I was talking to you, that thread kind of fell away. You probably noticed. I still think that there's like this spark that comes from education that is really tied into all of this somehow. It's somehow tied into the call for more openness. It's tied into the call for creating space and removing clutter. It's called into this thing that sparks that bit of like shedding and transformation. Somehow education is like like an ingredient in all of that. So I can't wait to hear how this all plays out for you in the coming month. If you enjoyed this, please let me know, because I would love to do more readings like this for you. This is something that I do for myself every single month. I actually do it every month and every week. I feel into the energy, and then I just kind of hold the message loosely. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Just hold this information a little bit loosely and see how it plays out. See what happens for you this month and how it aligns, if it aligns with the energy that we felt into. I really hope this has been helpful for you. I hope you have an amazing month, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. I'm so grateful that I get to be part of your journey of spiritual expansion. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a review for me on Apple Podcasts. It's a quick, free, easy way for you to support this podcast, and it helps me reach more people who are looking for support on their spiritual journey. You can find a link to leave a review in the show notes. Thank you so much, and I'll chat with you soon.